I am going all in on Amazon, probably my favorite company. And with today's pullback, along with the whole market pullback, I think it creates a really good opportunity to get in at a great price. Hello, my YouTube friends. My name is Adam Kahn, and this is Investing with Adam K. I hope everybody's having a good Thursday. I hope everybody's enjoying the crazy markets and the ups and downs. For those of you that are day traders, it probably creates great opportunity. For those of you who aren't, either you're having heart attacks and hating it, or it is what it is, and you're just watching it like everybody else. I do think this is going to go on for some time, and I think it's especially going to continue until the government gets back into session. And really, I think we might see a really big rebound to the upside once things get settled and they go back into the office. I think the lack of clarity and the fog, as Powell said, over the economy and what's going on is making people uncomfortable. And you have to also take into account all the money that is not going out to people that typically goes into the economy as part of the GDP and part of earnings and everything else. I mean, even if you just look at the SNAP benefits, they say there's 40 million people who receive that. Well, that's an awful lot of people getting. I think they said the average household gets over $300 per month. So you're talking about billions of dollars going out every month that go to grocery stores and everywhere else where people are using it, even down to like Amazon, Whole Foods, well, which is Amazon as I say it, which is the company I'm diving into as they're having a tough time right now. But either way, that's a lot of money not going out into the economy on top of all the people's pay and salaries and what's going on with the airlines. You know, my brother has a theory, and it's pretty interesting that he thinks that the airlines are going to settle down by Thanksgiving because the congressmen or senators and everybody else is going to want to be able to go home or wherever they fly for the holidays. So they'll figure it out of their own selfishness and get things back in order. And I hate to admit, it makes a lot of sense. And if the timing coincides with that, I hate to be so cynical, but he's probably right because I don't think these guys care about anybody else other than themselves and getting reelected. Now, I promise I will get to Amazon and what I love about it, but seeing who gets into office and what's going on really makes me kind of sad about the state of affairs in America right now. I look at our politicians, and they are the biggest self promoters, and they are the biggest people who lie and cheat and steal and do whatever it takes to get into office. And I don't know that they even have any real intention of doing the things they say. Take, for example, one, and I'm not going to mention names because I'm going to make fun of both the Republican side and the Democrat side, so I'll offend everybody, which is probably the best thing to do for getting views and likes and everything else, because I've noticed that the most hyperbolic, opinionated jerks that I see on YouTube are the ones who seem to get the most views and do incredibly well, which is mind-boggling. But that extrapolated is the same as our politicians. You have a guy that comes out and says absolutely nothing other than we had the greatest conversation ever. You guys have no idea how incredible it is and the things that we're doing. I'm just the greatest guy you've ever seen, and you wouldn't believe the decisions we're making and the way that we're negotiating and how things are going to be going forward. Well, what the hell did he just say? And did it have anything to do with anything? Or did he just come out and say how wonderful he is? Then you have another guy who's going to give out free transportation, grocery stores that are discounted, managed by the government, which, wow, what a great idea. Government grocery stores. That's worked so well everywhere else. We're going to freeze rents so people will never have to pay more in their rent. Well, not really sure how landlords are going to feel about that when their costs continue to go up and they can no longer afford to maintain those properties. In fact, it's been shown that when you do things like that, it actually makes rents go higher because people will leave it empty because they can't afford to keep it up the way they need to for tenants, taking properties off the market. And we're going to give all the free subways and buses and daycare and everything else to everybody. Oh, and in the meantime, I don't really believe in Israel or Jews or anybody else, and I support terrorist organizations. And here you have zillions of people jumping in saying, I want that guy. It blows my mind away what seems to work with the population, who goes out and votes, and how these people get into office. And it makes me really sad for where we are in these days. Anyway, that being said, off of my soapbox about politics onto Amazon, which I've always thought Amazon is probably the greatest company. Like if I had to pick my top three or four, it would be like Amazon, Google, Meta, and maybe Microsoft and Apple. But it's hard for me to put Apple in there. It's probably there. But I really think these are the greatest companies. And I guess you have to include Nvidia. I just tend not to remember or think of them. But I really think Amazon is really well diversified. They're in our retail space. They do the web services. They also have Zoox, which nobody even talks about. It's kind of an offshoot that nobody pays attention to. But here in Las Vegas, I'm beginning to see their cars move around and start actually transporting people, which means there could be room for growth with that. They also own a whole lot of other things, so they're really well diversified. They're not just retail. Now, I do have concerns about the consumer and where they're going to be and how they do on the retail end of things. But to be fair, I'm not sure that's the main focus in a lot of ways. I think their earnings are still going to be fine, and I think they're going to grow over time. And seeing the pullback after really good earnings, I think created an opportunity to get in about where it took off from when the earnings happened. And I think that's a good support level. Now, obviously, as always, this is not financial advice. Please use these videos as entertainment purposes only. I may be like the dumbest guy in the world, so by all means, don't listen to me. And you shouldn't really be listening to anybody on YouTube for that matter. You need to go out and do your own research when making financial decisions. Reach out to a financial advisor. I am not a financial advisor. I'm just sharing things that I look at and I've done for myself in my past. And I don't know, either it works or it doesn't work. And the part of it is I don't want people taking my advice because I'm comfortable when I make mistakes. I have no issue if I lose money of my own, but I do feel really badly if people follow my advice and they don't do well. It's a lot more pressure. I'm actually glad that I never went and became a financial advisor because of that, because I'd feel really guilty if they're having a tough time in an account. Or even like the expectation is just that you do well, so they'll just assume that's to be expected, and if the markets do poorly, then it would weigh on me, and I don't want to have that type of pressure. Now, I do also want to talk about Duolingo a bit. It's a stock that I own in a retirement account, and they got beat up really bad after their earnings. What's interesting is I looked into the earnings, and I'm a little bit surprised because the earnings were pretty good. I understand that they kind of backed off their future earnings potential and where their growth is and where they think they'll be going forward, but not in terms of subscriber growth. Excuse my blah, 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 blah. Not in terms of subscriber growth. And to be fair, if you guys watched the interview of the CEO on CNBC, I really liked what he had to say, which is his focus is subscriber growth, which grew at 38%, which is incredible. And I think his theory is I'm not super concerned about earnings. Now, I think the market hated that, and I'll talk about that a little bit as well. But his concern is more and more subscribers, and he hopes to continue growth over 30% quarter over quarter and year over year going forward. If I'm on board with him because I think his attitude is as long as I continue to build the subscribers, money will come. And I think he's right. And maybe it won't even be in terms of what people expect it to. Maybe you don't need to get paid subscribers to be paying for the fancier version of learning the language. Maybe they'll end up pivoting. But the more people he has on his site, daily users going and using their platform, the better the chance there is to use that as a platform for revenue. Maybe it's ads. Maybe it's a different direction of things to teach people. It could be anything once you build it. Like it's kind of like the movie. If you build it, they will come. And they are doing a really good job of getting more and more subscribers, and their costs and their margins are incredible. So I really like the direction they're going despite the pullback. I think there could be a lot more pain because typically when a stock falls that far, it doesn't just rebound and go right back up. Now it can. I mean, in the sense that when that happened with CrowdStrike, on them having the outage, but that didn't really impact their earnings a lot, only for a few days. Um, but something like Duolingo, where it sells off after a quarter that the market hated, and I'll explain what I think. I think when he said this, people who invest, who do care about earnings, were super annoyed because they think Why is this guy only interested in subscriber growth when he should be worried about how much money they make? I think they're missing the ball. And I think as a long term growth, you want the subscribers because really, once you have them, you can do anything in terms of making money. So I just don't see Duolingo going straight back up. But I did like what the CEO had to say, and I'm not planning on making any changes in my retirement account with it. Uh, I actually liked it even better, even though the price fell. It doesn't cause me to get nervous or want to sell. Unfortunately, I don't have on way too big a position where now I'm super frustrated. But understand, even when I say that, like everybody else, I have emotions, and it's not like I'm happy about it. I don't like seeing when the markets go down. Even buying a whole bunch of Amazon today, I was still annoyed with how the market behaved, but I also took a step back, saw an opportunity as something being on sale, in my opinion, and hopefully I'm right. Now, keep in mind that's in my trading account. If I'm wrong, I'll give up and I'll get out at some point. I just figured it looked attractive here for the short term. And I do own it in my set it and forget it account, which sometimes makes things difficult to trade because when I know I own it anyway, little moves can be over exaggerated. And I think, well, why would I keep it? I do own a bunch. Anyway, that's a separate story. Either way, in terms of Duolingo, I'm still staying with it. It didn't really bother me when I looked into the earnings, and especially when I heard the CEO speak. I just think it may take time for them to be able to continue to build those subscribers and eventually turn that into higher profits and growing the revenue. Now, in terms of Amazon, I see it as a really good opportunity. I always think Amazon is a buy, so take it with a grain of salt. And I'm beginning to see a lot of things that look attractive as the market continues to pull back. I think that once the government gets back in office, back up we go. Just kind of where I stand and what I think is going on right now. I was happy to see people show up for my Tuesday live, be it that it was just a few. It may be the wrong time of day, but as I've said in other videos, it kind of matches my schedule. So if it is, it is. Apologize. But it was nice to have 4 or 5 people chiming in and asking questions. If you guys are watching and can put it on your calendar, I do plan to do it again this week. So Tuesday, 11 o'clock Pacific time. So middle of the day. So I get that some people might be working and you just can't make it, but I will do another live and talk about the markets and kind of try to answer questions when people put them up, at least for now. And part of the reason to show up is it's a small enough group that I can really pay attention to everybody who chimes in and has questions. So if people want to have back and forth communication, it works out really well and it creates an opportunity for that. And if you make comments in the comment section, like I do respond to everybody's comments and get back to them. I don't even mind if you disagree with me. I got no issue talking back and forth, telling you like what I agree with, what I don't. I think that stuff is kind of what makes YouTube YouTube and why I like the platform. I think it's cool that people can get in and argue and debate and discuss and have conversations. I think it's cool for finance. I think it's cool for politics. I really do like the platform. And I think between the lives and the comment section, it really opens things up to make it a little bit different than a typical show or whatever else that we watch. Anyway, the weather out here warmed up a little bit. It's bringing back the mosquitoes. They're driving me nuts. So I'm going to call it a day. If you could do me a favor, if you haven't already, and hit that subscribe button, smash the like button, make some comments in the comment section. You have no idea how much that helps YouTube's algorithm, and I appreciate that. Have a great rest of your Thursday. Have a great Friday if I don't do a video tomorrow. I'll try to do one this weekend, but I know we have swim for Jacob. He's got some tournament he's in, plus we have Miracle League. We got so much going on the next few weekends. It's just getting a little hectic. So, talk to you guys soon.